Hello you lovely lot and welcome to a brand new video. My name is Katie and we are going to unbox and create with UpCrate. Now I don't know if it's just because we're in a new year or whatever, but it feels like an absolute age since I last did an UpCrate, so here it is. We have art goodies, a magazine, and of course the art print, and that is by JJ8 Art. And judging by the monochromatic colour scheme, I'm gonna assume it is a charcoal box. Well, I actually already know it is because this is a voiceover, but you know what I mean. So you'll have seen me pull the paper outside of the box, and this month's paper is the Sea Grain 224 GSM by Canson, and it's a grey mid-tone paper. You'll also see that I have put on a artist's glove, and we have some chalky charcoaly supplies. We also have a blending stump, a kneadable eraser, and an eraser that is within a pencil. Now I'll go a little bit more into depth on exactly what supplies we've got, but as always I've got to have a little look through the magazine. And feel free of course to slow it down if you think I've gone through it a little bit too quickly. Of course there's usually a little bit more information on the featured artist, as well as hints, tips and tricks for the medium that's inside. I also like the fact that they did a nice nod to all of the artists that were featured in UpCrate last year. I kind of wish they'd done that in the advent calendar, but it's nice to have a little bit of reflection on them anyway. So let's talk about the supplies. To begin with, we have two Lyra Rembrandt charcoal pencils in, I guess it says dry, and that is in a 2B and a HB. And there is just a slight bit of difference between the two. Obviously that 2B one is going to be a little bit more deeper than the HB, and that's kind of what you'd expect with a graphite, so I guess it translates charcoal pretty well. We also have a Lyra White Pastel pencil, which is an oil-based pastel, and I can't remember if I've actually used one of those in a pencil form before. To be honest, it didn't feel like using an oil pastel, and I suppose it did have a different quality to it, we'll say, from the other white pencil we had, which is a Koh-i-Noor hard mouth white coal soft. Again, that's not something I've used, but on initial impression it just felt like a white chalk pastel pencil. We also had some Winsor & Newton natural charcoal, and that's just your willow charcoal, which you tend to see quite a lot of in most charcoal-y drawing sets, I guess. I have loads of this stuff, so it's just some more. We have a blending stump, and I, for one, am quite happy with that. I cannot stand using my fingers to smudge charcoal around. I just hate the feel of it, and I don't particularly like the results from it either. Maybe that's just a skill set thing, I don't know, but not for me. We also have a Laufer pencil eraser and a Laufer kneadable eraser. I just swapped the kneadable out for one I already have. It just saves getting one dirty unnecessarily. And of course that pencil eraser, yeah, that's kind of useful too. We've had them before in UpCrate, and it's pretty good just for tidying up little edges here and there. The artist glove as well I thought was quite a handy addition. It does take a little bit of getting used to on paper in my opinion. I tend to use these when I'm using my tablet. If I ever do any digital art, it just sort of stops my screen going a little bit crazy there. But yeah, they're useful. Like I said, I've not really tried them before on paper, and it's a little bit big on my hand, but they usually are, to be honest. But anyway, I am waffling on. This month's prompt is new year, and yeah, it's a weird one. So I just thought I'll just draw whatever springs to mind, and I just thought I would draw a face with some nice, lovely, crazy flowing hair, because I just wanted to remain in my comfort zone, not gonna lie. I started off by sketching everything out very lightly with one of the willow charcoals, and there's two reasons really. I didn't find that the depth was, like the actual charcoal itself, wasn't quite as black as the pencil varieties, and also any mistakes I make can be lifted off easily with that kneadable eraser, and it's not quite gouging into the paper as much, leaving indentations, which if you're using a medium like this, you don't particularly want them there, well, unless you intentionally put them there, but yeah, it just makes it a little bit difficult for blending. So using the lightest one I found was a lot better to just get all of those little areas ready for when I went in with the more detailed harder pencils there. The Lyra charcoal pencils themselves, I mean, I'm not a massive fan of them, if I'll be quite honest. They felt a little bit too scratchy for me. I know to a certain extent they've got to put something in there to mix with that charcoal so it doesn't end up being all crumbly. Oh, and we'll get onto that in a minute. However, I feel like it probably went a little bit too far into the whatever it is they use to bind it with, and it just felt scratchy to draw with. It also felt a little bit difficult to blend as well, and again, that might just be down to me and my approach to it, but kind of expect my pastel-y mediums to sort of smoosh around the paper a little bit more than what it did. But we did have that willow charcoal in there, so I guess that overcame that problem a little bit. The paper we had, the Canson grey mid-tone paper, it was a really nice paper for the job, I'm not going to lie. However, I really do feel like I was done dirty on this, because each sheet of paper I had the watermark or the imprint of Canson down the side of it. And I mean, personally, I don't really want Canson written all over a piece of artwork I've done. I could understand maybe getting 1 or 2 sheets in there, well, just one actually, and that'd be fine for swatching on, but all 3 pieces had Canson down there, so yeah, I was a little bit disappointed there, and it's not as if I have any in at the moment that I can think, oh, I'll just swap it out. Yeah, it just sort of put a little bit of a dampener on it for me. Now, if you'd watched a few videos ago where I did a graphite drawing of Wednesday Addams, as well as the November scroller box, obviously in November, you'll have noticed I've obviously really enjoyed the graphite, and I do go into some techniques there. I feel like the approach, at least from my experience, especially using just the charcoal, is very similar. You want to go in there really lightly to begin with, just map out all of the features of whatever it is you're drawing. Because if you go in there too heavy and you decide, oh, that mark I've put on there is probably not right, or I don't want that, or you've changed your mind, it is really hard to remove it, and it doesn't matter what erasers you use. If you've pushed down too hard and committed too soon straight away, you're really going to have difficulty trying to sort of undo what you've done there. I do appreciate the fact we had some light tones in there to work with too, with that chalk pencil and that oil pastel pencil. I used the chalk pencil to just add, again, very lightly some highlights on this character's face, and that just brings out a little bit more of the form. I obviously found the chalky one a lot easier to blend than the oil pastel-y one, but I guess in a way they do lend their own qualities there. Obviously you can move around the chalky one a lot easier, and the oil pastel one, I guess, is probably better for more defined areas. It's just a shame really though with that oil pastel based one that it just didn't seem white enough. It didn't seem to stand out from the paper as much as the chalky one, which is just a little bit disappointed, and I guess it just makes it a little tiny bit redundant there, at least for the piece I was working on. Now, there was of course another charcoal based pencil, and that was the Cretacolor one. I actually really appreciated the deep richness and pigments in there. However, and again, it might have just been a transit issue, or it wouldn't have been how I sharpened it. I did try it in a pastel sharpener, it didn't work. I even used a knife to it, still didn't work, and I was so disappointed because that was something where I really wanted to add some strong details in there, and I just felt like I couldn't. I know I've said before in previous videos I'm pretty heavy-handed with my approach, however I have tried to rein that in a little bit. It's not as if I was snapping the charcoal sticks, and they're usually pretty fragile, so I did rein it in a little bit, but I just kept finding that it kept snapping, whether it was when I was drawing with it or when I was sharpening it. So yeah, that was not... It was a missed opportunity. I, again, like the depth, but the actual medium itself, we didn't get along. All in all though, in conclusion, I don't think this box was a bad one. I think the couple of criticisms I've got is the actual paper. I just don't want Canson written all over it, and I actually really do wish UpCrate would start putting in more surfaces to work on, especially when it's paper. I can understand if it's a specialised surface like board or the scratch boards we've had, but just give us a decent amount of paper. I've got far more mediums and then surfaces to work on. And also check what you're putting in the boxes. Like I say, I don't want writing on there unless I've put it on there. But overall though, I think if you're new to charcoal and pastels and monochromatic work like this, I don't actually think this is a bad kit. I like the fact you've got a glove in there, a blending stump, and 2 different types of erasers. And issues with the paper aside, I actually do appreciate there being a mid-tone in there as well. I think, again, if you're new to this medium, it just makes it a lot easier to get your tonal values in check. But of course, as always, let me know what you guys think downstairs. Are you a fan of this medium, or is this the first time you've used it? Let me know. Anyway, I do hope, as always, that you have enjoyed watching. I do hope it's been useful to you as well, especially if you're new to this medium. And I think there should be a couple of videos on screen that I think you will enjoy after this one, so why not give one of those a little click? In the meantime, thank you, as always, for watching, and I'll see you lovely lots soon. Bye!